In the isolated valleys and high mountain passes of the Balkan wilderness, there is a belief in a spirit that moves with a functional silence through the dead of night. Known as the Marton, or the midnight visitor, this entity is far more elusive than the common ghosts or monsters found in Western lore. It is not a creature of flesh and bone, but a shadowy presence that appears only in the darkest hours between midnight and dawn. For generations, villagers have whispered about a visitor that knocks on doors, watches from the corners of rooms, and leaves a chilling cold in its wake. It is a spirit tied to the boundaries of the home and the safety of the hearth, representing the thin veil between the world of the living and the realm of the restless dead. This is a journey into the heart of the midnight hour, where every creak of the floorboards could be the arrival of the visitor. Let's go deep into the well. The origin of the Marton is deeply rooted in the ancestral worship and domestic rituals of the Balkan people. In the traditional mind, the home is a sacred space protected by the spirits of the forefathers, but this protection is functional and requires constant maintenance. When the proper rituals are forgotten or when a family line is broken by tragedy, the Marton appears as a sign of spiritual imbalance. It is often described as a tall, shadowy figure wrapped in a dark cloak, its face obscured by the deep hood of its garment. Unlike a typical haunting, the arrival of the Marton is not marked by violence, but by a heavy, suffocating atmosphere. It is a professional observer of the household, a spirit that returns to check on the living and to remind them of the debt they owe to the past. The presence of the Marton is felt first by the animals. The horses in the stable will grow restless, and the dogs will hide under the porch, sensing a level of authority that no human can command. To the villagers, the visitor was a reminder that even in the modern age, the spirits of the old world still hold the keys to the house. The timing of the visit is specific and functionally tied to the midnight hour, a time when the spiritual walls are at their weakest. The Marton is believed to emerge from the shadows of the forest or the ancient burial grounds, moving toward the village with a speed that defies human biology. It does not break in, it enters through the invitation of silence and neglect. Many accounts describe the Marton as a figure that stands at the foot of the bed, watching the sleepers with an intensity that can wake them from the deepest slumber. It does not speak, but its presence carries a weight that feels like a physical hand on the chest. This was a professional warning from the beyond, a sign that the household was vulnerable to external darkness. The villagers developed a specific set of defenses to prevent the Marton from lingering. They would keep a fire burning in the hearth all night and place a bowl of salt or a piece of iron near the entrance. These were not just superstitions, they were functional tools used to define the boundaries of the domestic space against the intrusion of the midnight visitor. In many regions, the Marton is specifically associated with the restless souls of those who died away from home or without the proper burial rites. This creates a functional link between the spirit and the concept of the wandering dead. The Marton is a traveler who can never find a permanent place to rest, and so it seeks refuge in the warmth of other people's homes. It is particularly attracted to houses where a death has recently occurred or where a family member is missing. The spirit is believed to be searching for its own identity or trying to reclaim a life that was cut short. This professional level of searching makes the Marton a tragic figure, a being trapped in a loop of perpetual arrival. It knocks on the door precisely 3 times, a sequence that is recognized across the Balkans as a sign that the visitor is not of this world. To answer the knock is to invite the spirit inside, a mistake that could lead to a wasting sickness or a permanent cloud of misfortune over the family. The Marton is the guest that never leaves, a shadow that becomes part of the architecture of the house. The physical manifestation of the Marton often incorporates elements of the local environment, making it a master of camouflage. It can appear as a swirl of dust in the hallway, a flickering of the candle flame, or a sudden change in the temperature of a room. This functional ability to blend into the surroundings makes it one of the most terrifying entities in Balkan folklore. You do not see the Marton as much as you perceive it through the failure of your own senses. Professional folklorists have noted that the Marton shares many traits with the ancient concept of the household protector, but in a distorted and corrupted form. It is the protector turned predator, a spirit that has forgotten its duty and now only knows how to observe and haunt. This transformation is often blamed on the modernization of the village and the abandonment of the old ways. As the light of technology pushed back the darkness of the forest, the marten found fewer places to hide, making its visits to the remaining traditional homes even more frequent and intense. It is the last witness to a world that is slowly being erased by the dawn. As the legend of the marten evolved, it became a functional tool for teaching children about the dangers of the night and the importance of respecting the home. The story was told around the fire as a professional lesson in caution. Children were warned never to open the door after the second bell of midnight and never to look out the window if they heard a tapping on the glass. The marten was the enforcer of the rules, the shadow that waited for those who were disobedient or careless. This social function of the myth helped to maintain the discipline of the household during the long, harsh winters where survival depended on cooperation and routine. The figure of the midnight visitor was a personification of the external threats that faced a small, isolated community: the cold, the hunger, and the unknown. By giving these threats a name and a face, the villagers were able to develop a functional system for dealing with their fear. The marten was the price of the silence, a spirit that demanded a level of vigilance that kept the village safe from the greater horrors that lurked even deeper in the mountains. The connection between the marten and the lunar cycle is another professional layer of the mystery. It is believed that the visitor is most active during the new moon, when the sky is at its darkest and the stars provide no guidance for the traveler. During these nights, the marten is said to lead a procession of shadows through the village streets, a silent parade of the forgotten dead. This functional link to the phases of the moon suggests an astronomical origin for the myth, perhaps tied to the ancient calendars of the region. The marten is the guardian of the dark moon, the entity that ensures the transition from one cycle to the next is respected. Some elders claim that if you look through a silver ring during the new moon, you can see the marten standing in the center of the crossroads, directing the flow of the spectral traffic. This image of the visitor as a celestial gatekeeper adds a level of cosmic importance to a spirit that is usually confined to the corners of the bedroom. It is the master of the void, the one who stands between what was and what will be. The professional rituals for exorcising a marten are complex and require the intervention of a village elder or a person with specific spiritual knowledge. It is not enough to simply drive the spirit away, one must address the functional reason why it was attracted to the house in the first place. The ritual often involves the burning of sacred resins like frankincense and the sprinkling of holy water from the local spring. The most important part of the process is the naming of the visitor. By identifying the specific ancestor or the broken tradition that the marten represents, the living can provide the spirit with the closure it needs to depart. This is a delicate and professional task, as a mistake in the name could insult the spirit and cause it to become violent. The relationship between the villager and the marten is a constant negotiation, a professional dialogue between the seen and the unseen worlds. When the ritual is successful, the heavy atmosphere of the house lifts, and the warmth returns to the hearth, signaling that the midnight visitor has finally moved on to the next valley. In the modern era, the marten has largely retreated from the urban centers of the Balkans, yet its shadow still falls across the remote farmsteads and mountain villages. Even today, there are those who refuse to answer a knock at the door after midnight, and who keep a light burning in the hallway until the sun rises. The functional role of the marten has shifted from a spiritual entity to a cultural memory of the vulnerability of the human condition. It represents the universal fear of the intruder and the feeling of being watched when we are most alone. Modern psychologists have compared the experience of a marten visit to the phenomenon of sleep paralysis, where the mind wakes up before the body and creates a hallucination of a dark figure in the room. This professional explanation provides a scientific basis for the myth, but it does not diminish the power of the story. Whether it is a trick of the brain or a visitor from the beyond, the marten remains a potent symbol of the mysteries that still reside in the midnight hour. The story of the marten is a record of the enduring relationship between the people of the Balkans and the spirits of their land. It is a functional narrative that explores the boundaries of the home, the weight of the past, and the fear of the dark. The midnight visitor is more than just a ghost, it is a manifestation of the collective conscience, a reminder that we are never truly alone in our history. From the ancient mountain paths to the modern bedrooms of the city, the shadow of the marten continues to move with a professional silence, watching and waiting for the light to fade. As we reach the end of this journey, we see that the visitor is a necessary part of the cycle of life and death, the one who ensures that the stories of the ancestors are never fully forgotten. The legend of the marten shows us that the night is never truly empty. It is a story of three knocks, a dark cloak, and the secrets that emerge when the world is asleep. Subscribe, ring the bell, and thanks for watching. Don't forget. I will see you at the bottom of the well.